Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. I'm the hostess, and my name is Phyllis Italiano. And today I'm going to feature two young ladies who are going to talk about an issue that is very dear to my heart: women's equality. Now, isn't every woman in the audience standing up and shouting "Ray" at that? I would hope so. They are Sandy Rapp,
hello,
who has a little bit of an instrument in front of her, and Lilia Melani.
Yes, that's me.
I got it. And what we're going to talk about is something that's coming up. The East End Women's Alliance is going to be doing a performance and I guess you're going to call it a performance.
Event,
an event
presentation.
On the 22nd of August at at the East Hampton High School. And what time is it?
10 a.m., 10 to noon.
10 to noon
Right.
will be the timing of that. And what this is going to feature is a lot of different people, which we'll get into in a little while. What I want to hear a little bit now is a little bit about who you are, Sandy.
Me first?
Yes, you first. You're on the end.
Born
and raised.
Batavia, Ohio, population 1,500, on the Mason-Dixon line.
Wow.
School, Denison, then transferred to Aberdeen University. I have an MA from Aberdeen University. Went to New York, sang, but I've always been in music. And it was too dense for me, so I dropped out to the Hamptons, had the house band at the Barron's Cove for a number of years out here. And then I started doing feminist music out on the circuit, feminist rallies, now conferences, things like that. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
And you earned a living through music?
Yes, I've always earned a living through music. I'm not very rich, but I have earned a living.
Well, good for you. It's wonderful that you earned a living at doing something with music.
Yeah.
That's great. And Leonie, let's go on to you.
All right, born in New Kensington, which is a small town outside Pittsburgh. Got a bachelor's and master's in English from the University of Pittsburgh, PhD from Indiana University, and taught English at Brooklyn College, where I was the director of freshman English, the coordinator for the Writing Across the Curriculum program. I also organized the CUNY Women's Coalition, helped to found the Women's Studies program and the Women's Center at Brooklyn College and a few other colleges, and organized a class action suit against City University for discrimination against women under Title VII and 1983, Section 1983 of the U.S. Code. And I'm happy to say that in 1984, we had started the suit in 1971, it was a long fight. Judge Gagliardi, federal judge, ruled that CUNY had intentionally discriminated against women in salary, which implied in other areas also. And
so
right now,
both of you ladies are small town girls, right?
At one time, yeah.
Yes, at one time. Well, you're born and raised in
Yep.
a small town, as opposed to me born and raised in the Bronx, which
I've
is
heard
a
of it.
small town.
I'd say intermediate, because it was a small city, a third-class city. So we kind of are like a scale here.
Well,
Small
you
town.
can't get smaller than Batavia, so I'll own this Batavia.
Well, it's interesting to know what's the petri dish that you were in while you were growing and learning about the world. So the name of the group is the East End Women's Alliance, and how long has this group been in existence?
It started in 1970. Without a name, it was a group of women, 16 of them, who were concerned in 1970 about the ERA both about its passage and also about the misleading and false things that were being said about it. So they set up tables in Amagansett, East Hampton, and Montauk to distribute literature and to talk to passers-by about why the ERA needed to be passed.
What is the ERA for those people who don't know what the ERA is?
Yes, the Equal Rights Amendment for Women.
To the U.S.
To the U.S. Constitution.
Yes, yes, it was a federal law.
Yes.
And then they went on in another year, the next year, they honored women, community women, for their achievements in the community, did more tabling. And then we had conferences in the local schools, Amagansett and the middle schools, and went on to have various panels with guest speakers like Florence Kennedy, Bella Abzug, Betty Friedan, and local activists as well.
Yes, I was mentioning to these ladies that when I was in Fire Island all those years, that Betty Friedan wrote her very great book at the end of my street in the house that she owned. And I don't know that, I'm thinking about our audience. I'm not sure that they know something about...
The Feminine Mystique, it was called.
Yeah, well, they know also about the history of the women's movement, because the truth of the matter is, people don't realize that we couldn't vote, you know, we couldn't even get out of the house.
Well, Women's Equality Day is the anniversary of women getting the vote in 1920. And in 1971, it was formally introduced into Congress as a resolution by then Representative Bella Abzug and made it a federal thing, Women's Equality Day, the anniversary in August of women getting the vote in 1920.
Isn't that amazing?
Yep, it's amazing.
That this country was existed so long and we took us to 1920 to get the vote.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, American women in some of the territories did have the vote. And they lost it when that territory became a state and entered the Union.
Mm.
Oh, now that's something I didn't know. So there you go. See, you learn every day.
Oh,
huh?
yes.
Yes.
So this group began of a group of core women who were interested in making sure and supporting what was going on in our country on a national basis.
Right.
In
Yes.
the late 60s, early 70s.
It's in 70, and then we were very active through into the 90s, and then we took a hiatus for a while, and we're back now.
And we've always dealt with issues of the moment that were crucial to women. Bork, the ERA, choice, political votes, political rights.
And in the present day, there's a terrific erosion of abortion rights and birth control rights, with various states and localities passing legislation just designed to obstruct these things, just deliberately obstructive. And you have this slander campaign full of lies about Planned Parenthood that's going on right now. It's just absolutely untrue. Lelia just has the New York Times about it. It's just it's crazy stuff going on. So it's important we have a pro-choice woman as president, I think, and we need to.
Would you say that again, please?
It's important we have a pro-choice woman as president.
Yes, indeed. I think it's time, because to tell you the truth, they seem to have screwed up the world.
Yes,
those other people.
yes, they've been in
That
charge
other
for
sex.
quite a while. You've noticed, yes.
I have noticed.
Time
you
has
know how
come.
you know how they lead? They bop you on the head. That's how they lead. You know, they believe in might, and whereas we believe in intelligence. I'm going to tell you a joke right now. It's one of my favorite
good, a
jokes.
joke.
And this guy goes to a doctor, and they say to him, "Oh, you're going to need a brain operation." And when he goes in for the brain operation, the surgeon comes out and says to his wife, "He needs a new brain. We got to get him a new brain." And the wife says, "Oh my God, that's going to be so much money. How is that going to work?" He said, "Well, I can give you a male brain for $2,500, or I can give you a woman's brain for $500. And the woman says, "Well, why a woman's brain only $500? Because it's used." And that's my joke about men and
I
women.
like it. It's
So,
good.
you know, here's the thing, folks. If we don't, what I like is that what you had that really got to me was we have rights, and if we don't choose them, we will lose them.
Absolutely, and it's harder to maintain something. When you're on the cutting edge going forward, it's easier to get rights. Now we're trying to defend the status quo, which is eroding fast under our feet.
And there's a widespread assumption that the right to choose is a right and that we will always have it. And it's taken for granted. But it's under attack and is being eroded.
What is the right to choose? Tell us.
The right to choose the size of your family, when you will have your children, how many children you will have, and whether to have children, or whether to have a particular birth.
Exactly, and that's a very important right that a woman has. She does have that right. She is not just a baby factory. She is a human being who has the right to have her own desires and her own self-prophecy for her life.
And with the attacks on clinics that give abortions,
Which is
closing and
constant.
being, yes, which is constant, and there are fewer and fewer of them. Many women in rural areas or poorer neighborhoods have no access. They're being denied a basic right to determine the fate of their own bodies and the fate of their families.
And to lose the right to birth control is really...
And it's really quite paradoxical that the same people who are arguing against abortion rights argue against birth control rights, which, of course, when you can't get birth control, you're much more likely to have an abortion.
That's right. That's right. They forget what abortion was like in the old days.
The bottom line is that it's to control women. That's what it's about. It's not about birth control. It's about control.
I think you're going to see a lot more of this going on, too, in the next, as Hillary steps into the...
Oh, God, yes.
You know, into the limelight of really running for president. There's going to be a lot of anti-women things, as there was indeed when a black man became president.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You know, a lot of things that went on that, well, we're still hearing about all the time.
Yes, they're still looking for the birth certificate, you know. Yeah.
God. You mean, that's Donald. That's Donald with the hair. Or the lack of hair.
I saw a cartoon of some sort of jellyfish-like thing, and the caption was, "Donald's hair is found crawling on the beach."
So this event, who's going to be there at this event? Tell us about it.
Okay, one of the speakers, and also receiving an award for her achievements, is Phyllis Chesler. Phyllis is an outstanding feminist who has been in the front lines since the late 1960s. Most people have heard of her for her book, Women in Madness, which was a blockbuster when it was published, because she talked about the abuse that was institutionalized in the psychiatric community against women, the various abuses, and since then she's published 16 books in all. The most recent one is rather interesting. She had married, when she was right out of college, an Afghan prince and went to live in Afghanistan with him, and then was imprisoned in Afghanistan. She lost her passport. She couldn't get out. So the book is her struggle as a bride in Kabul, how to get out. And as a result of that, she has been very active in defending the rights of mothers and custody to their children. She testifies in court, and she's a first-rate public speaker.
Wow.
So that is one of our
stirring. What a story.
Oh, she is. Yeah. She herself has led an interesting life, and she is a fine speaker.
And who else?
Well, Bill Baird's going to be there. Bill Baird is Baird v. Eisenstadt, Supreme Court decision in 1972, which was cited many times in Roe v. Wade. And Baird v. Eisenstadt recognized birth control rights for singles in the United States. And that decision was also later cited in the first important lesbian gay civil rights decision, which was Lawrence v. Texas. They cited Baird v. Eisenstadt. And then this most recent Supreme Court decision about marriage, so it's cut through, privacy rights as defined by Baird v. Eisenstadt has cut through all our civil rights for the past 4 decades. And so he's going to be here to speak. And he's sometimes not recognized by the women's movement because we usually have just women speaking, but this time we have Bill, and Bill's important, and he's a man, but he's done an awful lot of feminist work, so we have him.
Well, anyone who has been out there and providing and making sure that we had the option to be single and have sex, safe sex.
I'm going to sing a song about him, so you'll learn more about his trials and tribulations.
Okay. And who else will you be having?
Who else we're having is Judy Lerner. She has been a peace activist since the 1960s, since the Vietnam War. She was one of the founders of the Women's Strike for Peace in 1961. And she is an activist. She chained herself, one of the women who chained herself to the gate of the White House, protesting the Vietnam War. And finally, she is
I wish I had done that.
Yeah, I admire that very much. And she replaced Bella Abzug when she resigned as our ambassador to the UN. And Judy is still working at the UN at the age of 92. And sharp as a tack.
Wow.
She'll be with us?
Wow.
She will be with us. She is one of the speakers and the honorees.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is.
92. I'm hoping I can walk. And so, who else?
We have Marilyn Fitterman, my partner, who was past president of now New York State, and also co-chair of the East Hampton Town Anti-Bias Task Force in the past. Founded a First Amendment organization called Feminists for Free Expression, which was in place for about 20 years in the city, and speaks on reproductive rights. And there was something else. She's a past master at clinic defense. You know, we have to defend so people can get into these clinics when Operation Rescue and these people blockade the clinics, and law enforcement should be taking care of it. But instead, women have to form barriers and try to get women into their doctors.
Yes, I know. We all know.
Yeah. So she'll be with us speaking.
And I'd add for Marilyn that she has an interesting theory, belief, I agree with her, had never thought of it until she mentioned it, that when women are abused, we round up the women and children and isolate them, hide them away, while the men have the house. They can sit in front of the TV and drink their beer and lead their normal lives, while the children cower, frightened with their women in supposedly safe houses. Who should be put away in the safe houses is the men. And the women and children should be allowed to have the house and the TV. And the men have ankle bracelets so we know exactly where they are so they can't threaten and injure their wives and children. So that's Marilyn.
Oh, okay.
So, and our final awardee and speaker is going to be our very own, East Hampton's own, Helen Rattray, who has been the publisher for years of the East Hampton Star, writes for the Star,
Yes.
and has been a community activist.
And she's been very kind to the East End Women's Alliance. She's always given us great coverage for our events. And she's been there and she's found out what was going on first. And she's just been extremely conscientious with us for many years.
And very influential for us because in the very early days, when the women were just starting out, she said to them, you have to do something that is noteworthy so that I can publish it, so I can print it.
She's right.
She was right. So after all these decades, we are acknowledging her. And that's our lineup. Sandy will be singing with the Alliance Singers, her own songs, and we will have a slideshow.
Of our own history.
Of our own history, yes.
Gee, I think that a lot of young women should attend this.
I hope so.
Because they need to understand something about how hard it has been for us to even get the kind of rights that we have, you know, because
Yes.
it really has been a battle. I mean, it's, you know, we struggled, you know, it was really very much like what we had with our racial revolution as well. I mean, very similar.
And they were related movements.
Yes, they were, one on top of the other, and that we were coming to the point where this society began to recognize the fact that, you know, individuals have rights, no matter who they are or what their skin color is, that they have rights and basic rights. And so, so this will be on the 22nd, and it starts at 10 a.m.
10 a.m. in the East Hampton High School. It's on Long Lane, which is an extension of Newtown Lane.
That's right.
If anybody,
And plenty of parking, no problem.
plenty of parking. It's free.
That's right.
Everybody's
that
welcome.
was the other thing I was going to ask.
We'll have some handouts and information, and come on down.
And have a good time
And we're going
and
to
expand your minds.
And now we're going to have from you the song dedicated to this unsung hero, Billy
Baird.
Billy Baird. Okay, and this is Sandy's song.
We ready to roll?
Yep.
8 times in jail was Billy Baird, that young and gentle pioneer. Took to the streets when he saw a woman die from an underground abortion. What keeps you going, Billy Baird? What keeps the flowers in your hair? Well, you've been so long singing the good song, you keep the 60s rolling on. He bought a van with all he had and set about to spread the word. When just a mention of prevention was illegal to be heard. 3 times to court was Billy Baird, the highest court in all the land. When it was seen as criminally obscene to speak of a parenthood that's planned. If the right to privacy means anything at all, it is to choose whether or not to bear a child. So spoke the court in '72 when Billy Baird's first case made birth control legal for singles in the USA. What keeps you going, Billy Baird? What keeps the flowers in your hair? Well, you've been so long singing the good song, you keep the 60s rolling on. There was a bomb in '79. No doubt Bill was meant to die. Billy escaped, but the morning break found they'd burned his clinic to the ground. They see the devil in his face and shoot the windows from his place. They're for creation, not information, and they've killed 9 providers now to date. And the court decided twice again for Billy Baird. Cited Baird v. Eisenstadt 6 times in Roe v. Wade. Then Baird faced jail again, this time for rights of gays. For years he was denied the vote for felonies such as these. Some leaders thought he got a deal, too radical to be for real. Maybe he's here to play, maybe he's CIA, maybe he wouldn't last for long. 30 years and 9 has been and gone. Billy's doing fine and going strong. Still he's without a doubt fighting the good fight, keeping the 60s in his song. What keeps you going, Billy Baird? What keeps the flowers in your hair? Well, you've been so long singing the good song, you keep the 60s rolling on and on and. Well, you've been so long singing the good song. Your keys, 60s rolling on.
My God, this man is a real hero.
Yes.
Real hero.
Come
Yes.
see him.
Yes, I am.
Saturday.
I'm planning to come. But, you know, the one line that really got me, because there's an English film about a woman who goes around and
Vera,
Yeah.
Vera Miles. Have I got the right name?
I don't remember the right name, but
Verna?
she goes around giving abortions
Yeah.
to women because they can't get them.
And she winds up in jail.
Yes, and what people don't know is that in the old days, before abortion was legal, Lord knows it isn't so legal anymore anyway, but, you know, women used to have to go places to get one, and usually they were not even performed by doctors.
Absolutely.
They were just performed by, you know, some...
One of the songs I'll sing is about Rosa Jimenez, who died of a backstreet abortion. Ellen Frankfurt wrote a book about her Rosie investigation of a wrongful death, and I wrote a song about it, and my group will sing this song about Rosie's death.
Who's in your group?
Astrid Myers, one of the founders, Judy Weiss, who will be introducing people, Leslie Gelb, Marilyn Fitterman. Have I missed anybody? I think that's what I've got right now. There have been more or less, but those are the rehearsed ones.
If there was a place for me. It sounds like I know this. I can do this song.
Well,
no. I'm teasing. I could.
Come to the event.
You can lead the audience.
Yes, I will. I'll stand up and lead the audience.
And we're doing a Hillary song too, called "She
great.
Will Rise," based on Maya Angelou's support for Hillary in 2008.
Right. Very good. All right, well, ladies, I wish you a very successful event, and I thank you very much for coming. I think you have taught us all something that we needed to remember. We need to, I'm going to go back to your slogan, women's rights, choose them or lose them.
Cool.
Yes.
You know, because that's the key.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
It has been
Hey,
our
I'm a woman.
pleasure. Thank you.
Last I looked, anyway. You know, we have to make sure that we keep this good fight going.
Thank you.